Hey everyone, how's it going today? Hope you're doing well. Thanks so much for being here as always. Super appreciate it. And today I'm going to talk about Eric Clapton a little bit. I'm going to talk about his version of Ramblin On My Mind, the old Robert Johnson tune, which the Blues Breakers did back in the John Mayall and Blues Breakers record featuring Eric Clapton. So let's take a look. I'm going to play a little bit for you. It's a solo blues, so let's check it out. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It's live. Time. All right, so there, I learned a ton from that. Maybe let's try that intro again. Now, one more. Yes, yes, the B string. One more time. Yeah. Then. That's it. One more time. Okay, good. I knew I'd get it one of these times. It's live. All right, so we have a 12-bar blues. First of all, that version that I'm playing is from John Mayall and Blues Breakers featuring Eric Clapton. The Beano record that Keith and 5 Watt World and I have done a lot on. A hugely influential record for many guitar players, of course, me being one of them. And so a little bit of history on that record. I know you guys probably all know this, but it was arguably, probably, not even arguably, the first time of a recorded sound of a Marshall and a Les Paul, known as the Beano tone, named after the magazine he was reading on the cover called the Beano comic book. So there you go. So people sometimes say you can check out my the Beano record short history that Keith Williams over at 5 Watt World did, which is great, and run over all that information that got. He was asking me to play it out, which was really kind of him to do. So what I love about this tune, and you hear me talk about this a lot if you're a fan of the channel, if you subscribe, is being able to play a blues by yourself and being self-contained. And this is one of those tunes that really kind of opened it up for me, because I was always sort of, worried. I would not worried. I'd play leads and things, and then I would never be able to play the blues by myself nice and solidly and cool, right? Okay, so the first thing are just these variations on your basic boogie-woogie pattern. So we have the first thing, this thing, right? Nothing big, right? Or so I thought, until you hear someone like him play it, or Hubert Sumlin, or anybody who's really got it together. For me, there was a certain degree of hubris in playing this stuff, where like, it's just the blues, how hard is it? And then I would listen to this and go, oh, I stink. So, right, so this, so we have this, so there's a few variations. We have the first one, which is the implying the E7 chord, right? So we can slide up that third finger, right? And we can use the pinky, but I think he's using that slide, and it just kind of adds another little thing to it. Now if you look, I'm muting, and that's what he was doing too. And one thing I learned a lot from was the accents on this. So it's on those downbeats, 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, right? That's super important to get that pulse going, as opposed to, which sounds terrible. So, and 2 muted, it doesn't have any life, so it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3. So then there's this little cool fill, and he does the same thing on the 4 chord in a second. So, right? We'll get to that 5 in a second. So the 4 chord, same exact thing. It gets really nice, kind of cool. That's the main riff, right? So you want to get that together. Now when he goes to his 5 chord, he does some really cool stuff that I missed it when I first learned it. I'm going to my basic B7 chord, the first one you learn, the first difficult chord you'll learn, right? So I have B7 here. But what he does, which is really cool, he doesn't hit the F sharp until a little later. He does this sound. So he plays his B bass note, open B string, and then the A note, which is the flat 7. Right? So let me put that in context. So we from the 4, from the 5. We'll get that lick in a second there. But this, pretty cool as opposed to, by leaving out the F sharp with the 3rd of the chord, it's a little heavier, a little darker sounding, right? It's a really kind of cool, beefy sound. I think he hybrid picks this for sure. Well, I think he hybrids for it. That's not a proper sentence. I hybrid pick it. I think he's hybrid picking it. Ooh. Yep. We got an alert in New York here. Hold on a second. Live. There's an overusage of power in New York City, so they gave us a phone thing here. Wow, that's crazy. All right. Like a real alarm. That's never happened before. And it was live. All right. So, yeah, it's like 95 degrees here in New York right now. So, I guess we should turn off the air conditioners. Okay, so, scare the crap out of me. All right, so, 5 chord. Maybe it's all my lights. All right, so I'm letting that ring, kind of big sound. Then this line, I love this line. That is so cool. So it's on my A chord, so from the 5 to the 4. right? So, sorry, A. So I'm thinking, so open A, slide in that C sharp, E, C sharp, then we're going to bend this F sharp to the G. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, with a C sharp. When I play it slow, sometimes I screw it up. Yeah, slide in there. Then the last phrase. So from that A chord, right? All right, so that's not all of it. That's the first riff-based parts. So he does a little bit of what we call a call and response. So, you know, if he's singing it, or Robert Johnson, I got rambling on my mind. He does this. So I wonder if I get a copyright strike for playing a blues. Maybe. Who knows? If I do, whatever. As long as they don't pull it. Or a copyright claim. I don't care about that. All right, so this lick, Jimmy Reed lick, I first learned this, well, I first learned it from Clapton. And then I went back and started listening to some Jimmy Reed tunes. Baby, What You Want Me to Do. Okay, so what Clapton does here is a little bit like the Doors tune, Don't Love Me Two Times. So a lot of these things are really common. So the idea is here I'm playing a partial E7 chord, hammering down this G to the G sharp, then a top strings ring. And I'm barring with my second finger, and it looks like I'm grabbing an A chord, because I am. Trill, then. Okay, let me put it together. So he does that on the second half where the response would be. So it's like the call, the lyrics. Riff, where the singing. Again. Five chord, sorry. Okay, so that's the whole thing. I would say when you listen to the original recording, it's all right there. I don't have a tab for it. I don't think you need a tab. I would highly recommend you just kind of watch this video or listen to it. It's all stuff you may or may not have done before. I mean, I just showed you to play it, but this. I mean, how many tunes is that, right? And how many tunes is this? So what's really nice about the parts that we have here is we can start to plug them into any blues that's an E pretty much verbatim. And, you know, an E blues is made up of these cliches, or for cliche, I don't mean in a negative sense, but of this vocabulary. This is what makes it sound like an open position E blues. Sounds like in A Life on the Drop, the Stevie Ray Vaughan tune. You hear that kind of lick all the time. kind of reminds me of those, they start playing these riffs, it's like Oh Well by Fleetwood Mac, and you guys know what I'm talking about. It's a lot of the same stuff. Okay, now, how would you practice this? Well, playing with the metronome is super important so you don't end up dropping beats. The song isn't that fast, so I'd highly recommend you check out the original and play along with it. And a little bit of trivia, it's the first time Clapton actually sang, apparently ever, they said, or that's the rumor. First time he sang it on a record, but apparently he had never really sang before, and they just kind of belted that out, which is pretty darn great. And I think he's a great singer, especially. A friend of mine, great guitar player from Ireland named Anto Drennan, just put a comment on the Facebook thing saying about Clapton was he, I don't say he lit his guitar playing. He's not the same guitar player that he was in the 60s and moving on, as we all kind of know that. I still love his 70s guitar playing and 80s guitar playing. It's just not the same thing as the Cream and Beano stuff. But his voice has gotten so great. I think he's such a great singer. Anyway, okay. So he said, he lit the guitar playing kind of slide and put all that emotion into his voice. All right, so now there's the whole solo to this song. I haven't memorized the solo, but there's a few little things I just kind of want to talk about that we can grab. First of all, you want to get that rhythm guitar part together. That's for sure. So, do I have it? I already looped it. So he's got this cool thing right here. That like I'm playing a little more refined than he did, but I love this. Right? Let's try to remember this solo. It's been a long time. I'm just winging the solo around, so. So it's just kind of like. And does like. So, like I said, I'm kind of winging the solo. I just thought I'd talk about it right before I went online. I'm like, yeah, let me talk about the solo. The main thing, if you listen to that solo, what I really love is this. Kind of works that bend between the A and the B on that E chord. So he's really working that, and getting those in-between notes is really super cool. So like I said, I'm just winging it. I haven't learned that. I haven't played that solo in a while. So forgive me, but it's live. I thought I'd just talk about it. And if I play the song, I'll get dinged. So you keep on thinking about that sound. It's great. Hear him do that kind of stuff all the time, especially back then. And again, this is. So you could have a lot of fun just improvising on that. But back to the initial story here. I could kind of mess with the soloing stuff a lot more comfortably than I could with the lead playing. No, I just said that backwards. I could play the lead stuff for better or for worse. I felt more comfortable with that. And I really found when I had to play the rhythm on something like this, I was really lacking to be able to just sit down and play that solidly and have it sound good, right? Really hard to do. And most guitar players, and almost across the board, people who come to me for lessons, have a deficiency in that. Just being able to play the blues all the way through, and everybody's like, oh yeah, it's just a 1, 4, 4, 5, I kind of got that. And then when I say, okay, let's play it for me, and then everything kind of crumbles and falls apart. Either they're dropping the groove, or they're playing it too straight, or they're adding an extra beat, or they don't really know the form, or they know it and you're just not that good at it, right? So it took a long time for me to run through this and listen to him, record myself play, went back, listened to him, you know, kind of comparing what it is, and listen to his nuances for sure. The other tune that is on the Beano record on a B-side, well, it's not a Beano record, but Keith talks about it in that short history, is Lonely Years. It's another amazing snapshot of the way he played at this point in time, which is some of my favorite guitar playing. All right, so how can I steal some of this stuff? Well, same thing, faster. Try it again. See what's happening when you don't practice before you go on live. All right. So also, this line, the intro, let's talk about that, right? So we've got this common blues lick. We have a G, and we're bending it sort of up to G sharp, kind of, and we have the B on top. So we're thinking of an E minor pentatonic, but I'm bending this G, kind of leading to the G sharp, so the natural third. So that B again, then kind of right down to pentatonic scale. Then this turnaround. So here I'm taking an E7 chord. One, downbeat, up a half step, then to the B7 chord. So also do it in reverse. Right, so either direction works great. In one of my not live videos here on YouTube, I have 5 turnarounds you must know, blues ones. This is one of them. Right, so I learned all this stuff from that, and this lick. So I learned that from him too. All right, so there you go. I would say learn it as close as you can and then completely forget it, like I clearly just did. But it's kind of ingrained in what I do as a player. Yeah, one more thing. The dynamics on all of this is so key to it sounding right. So once again, let me just talk about that. I'm going to mute with my right hand. I'm going to hit harder on those downbeats. I'm going to overdo it right now. So it's hard and soft, right? So I'm opening it up and then dropping the hand down. I'm muting the fifth, I'm muting the string on the upbeats. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and 1 and 2, and, right? So I'm overdoing it on purpose just to kind of get the feel under my hands. So now it really comes down to the 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, right? And 3, 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and right? So I can really kind of take that same idea and expand upon it. And that particular thing I was just playing is from one of my courses at TrueFire that you can get through my website for 20% off. You enter live 20, and it's solo electric blues guitar. I have a few tunes like this in there, and that's why I made that course, because it's so important to be able to do this. It's kind of the first thing I do when I pick up the guitar, is just play a blues by myself. And this is just kind of getting up to bat in many ways. You can start to, well, not the way Clapton played it, but you know what I'm saying. Fingering wise or note wise, this is very basic. And by saying basic, I do not have any kind of judgment on good or bad. It's just common stuff done really, really well. And then you can start to expand upon it, right? And take it to this next level. You can move into different positions on the fingerboard, but you really want to make sure you get something like this down. And when you jam with somebody else, you know, you're holding it down. And also, like I said, when you're playing by yourself, it's a ton of fun. But the dynamics are key. So I'm gonna, once again, no dynamics. Right, with. See, so I kind of also bring it up a bit like a crescendo when you get to that 5 chord, the B chord, that should be kind of like the loudest part, and you can bring it back down. But it's like we're having a conversation, and even though you are repeating the same motifs through the whole thing, sorry, my cable in my microphone here. We're repeating the same motifs throughout the whole thing, but I'm improvising how I play them, right? And how the feel I put into it. I'm always thinking about creating a groove and a conversation, hopefully, so it's not like I'm playing like this the whole time, right? And that's what you do not want to do musically. You want to have the same thing where the dynamics keep the listener engaged. And that's the big difference between playing it and really playing it. And also, like I said, playing it with the metronome. Fortunately, this track is not that fast, so it's not that hard to play along once you get the groove. Also, if you can't get, you know, just who cares? Go do that the whole time to get into the groove, right? Like I did in the beginning, leaving out the harder stuff, leaving that out. Actually, I'm even playing it faster than it is. So that's also one thing, another thing to think about. Sometimes when you jam on this by yourself, you start realizing like, wow, I am playing it way faster than he is. So there's no real reason to do that. It's very different than the Robert Johnson version, which I'm assuming, I haven't listened to in a little bit. I should have written notes and been more getting my background together. I love Robert Johnson. It's probably an open G. And so it's played very differently. Clapton just took the lyrics and the 12-bar blues. All right. So let me say hi to everyone. Thank you to BB, because now I am not squinting looking at the pop-out chat. As you may notice, I'm not going like this anymore because I've learned it. I've learned how to get the pop-out chat larger, which is just so ridiculous that I didn't know how to do that. Being a Mac guy, I gave it a little larger. Woo! All right. So thanks to everybody who's here as always. Quincy was here way early. You guys are funny. I'm going to go back to the top. David Cromwell, Phil, of course, Phil Mingan, thanks for doing everything as always. Thanks for being here, Phil, moderating, and being all around swell guy. Cuts both ways. First time here on the live thing. Same thing with Chris McCarter. Thanks for being here. Gordon Cook, what's going on? Steve Moore, what's going on, Steve? Richard and Sarah, Jeff Kaler, Neil Sandy. Hey, that was me playing in the beginning, not Eric Clapton. Baby John, Matt Gibson, what's going on, Matt? All right, I can go say. All right, so I'm saying hi to everyone. Everyone's there. Jason Cutter, San Stamos, Jim C, Ken, Philip. All right, everyone's here. So any questions on this stuff? And hopefully my power will stay on. Now that my stream seems to be working fine, maybe the power will stay on. So as to clear up a little bit. Not as bad as Seattle and all. That's crazy right there. Angus Clark in the house. You got the tone today. Well, Les Paul and that's the Axe Effects. Playing the Axe Effects. All right. David Crum, this is so helpful. Thank you, David. I'm glad you're enjoying it. All right. Oh, yeah, and I do talk about, thanks, Phil, for reminding me. I have, through Brett Papa, if you go to my website, it's a British Blues Masters course, and I talk about Eric Clapton. I talk more about his soloing playing as opposed to the rhythm guitar stuff. But I go really in depth on his soloing style and solo over like a Cream sort of vibe of the mid 60s Clapton stuff, my favorite, mixed to the later 60s. So if you don't have that, please go check it out. Thanks for Jeff for teaching the unteachable. I appreciate that. All right, get down to any questions. Okay, no questions so far. Okay, all right, this is Jim C. Okay, people are asking a few questions here. So I can see some of these, Phil, before you get it. Are you using the Marshall or the Bloomfield? This is an Axe Effects FM3 on the JTM 45. With a Les Paul with old strings. So, all right, sounds killer. The effects are great. Yeah, that's the Axe Effects, guys. Pretty amazing. I would have to say it's one of the best pieces of gear I've ever purchased. This is the FM3. All right. I should say legally that I'm doing a paid promotion now at this point because I did get a deal with those guys. I got some friends and I got an artist deal, which I am super psyched about. Yeah, this thing is so great. I really love it. So yeah. Now people often ask me, do I like it better than my T-Rocks? But they're different things. They're tools, right? If I'm going to go gig, I'm using a real amp. Just the way I want. But at home, these gets great sounds. I'm not cranking my amps and using the tubes, and it's a little less fussy sometimes. I find it very easy to get some great sounds out of the Axe Effects, especially with that new firmware they have. It's really kind of mind-blowing to me. And I've sent it to a lot of my friends that we know, professional guys, are like, is that the Axe Effects? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh man. So it's pretty great. Is it better than the T-Rocks? No, it does a different thing. You know, if you want a real amp, that's better. If you want some great digital modeling that fits the tool that you need it for, then this is great. Okay, here we go. All right, let me get back to some of these questions. Sliding back up. My wife has a crush on Angus. Not my wife, Jim C's does. My wife doesn't like Angus. Just kidding. All right. I like not squinting now. This is great. All right, getting to the question. Sorry, guys. Kind of jumped up here. Can you throw in a longer solo breaks and return to the groove? Sure. Well, I can throw it, instead of doing, you know, right? So doing that, you could do, you know, so, right, so I can throw in a 2-bar fill at the second half of each 4-bar phrase, right? That makes sense. So where I'd normally go, I would do a fill. But you want to make sure that the fill does not overstep the time, right? That's super important. One thing I don't think people do enough these days, from hearing from the kids, that I did and all my friends did, I played along with records. So I'd jam with the Blues Breaker record, whether I was actually nailing it or not. Like, I'm not trying to copy, I was copying the vibe and the feel and where he phrases. That's super important. So you could throw in the fill, and if you're not out by the time the vocal comes in, you overstep the bounds, right? So that's super important. So that's where I throw those fills in, something really fun to work on. It's kind of like a call and response. You'd be doing the response to the call part. The call part is the vocal. Right. Getting the time is the key, though. No matter how you get there. That's the funny thing. If you listen to Lightnin' Hopkins doing this stuff, and I highly recommend Lightnin' Hopkins, sometimes he's not making it, and he just crams that note until he gets to the downbeat. Like, it's almost like he's falling down the stairs in a spectacularly great way to get to the downbeat. You know, he's doing that fill, and he's like, oh, not going to quite make it, so he'll just kind of throw a flurry of notes in. As long as he hits that downbeat, you're good. All right. Quincy, the axe sounds great. Never heard something sound that good on a digital platform. I agree. It sounds killer. Okay, Jim C., which course would you cover in Truth that covers this riff? I have a variation of this on my Blues Guitar Survival Guide, the Rhythm Edition. I show you sort of this, and I show you a little bit of Champagne and Reefer from Muddy Waters. Right? That kind of thing, too. So Champagne and Reefer is different, but I do that, 2 of those things on my Blues Guitar Survival Guide, the Rhythm Edition. And I got some cool stuff I'll talk to you about that coming up that I'm planning here. Jeff, have you ever met Eric Clapton? What's your impression of it? I've never met him. I would love to. I don't know what, I don't know. I've met some people who have good stuff to say about him. You know, people who've worked with him. And I'm friends with Sonny Landreth, and Sonny said he's a great guy. He's just, very guarded, as I think anybody who is that famous would have to be. So it probably takes a while to become friendly with someone like him, which you can completely understand why. You know, when you're famous, I'm not famous, but I've been around famous people, and it is weird. You know, people get around them, so I can understand that entirely. So he seems like, in a lot of ways, I don't even care. He's just had such an influence on my life as a player that, I'm happy to just know his music. All right. Greetings from Dublin. This is Jerry Martin. First time you caught me live. Been watching all this stuff on YouTube. Thank you so much, and thank you for the inspiration. Thank you for being here, Jerry. Glad to catch you live, too. Okay. Was anyone else playing Robert Johnson, The Time of the Beano album? Yeah, sure, the Rolling Stones. They did Love in Vain on, I believe, maybe their first record. So yeah, people were covering the Robert Johnson stuff. That was all the rage, apparently, in London at the time, and they were all getting these records. Really cool stories about that. There's a cool documentary. You can see it on YouTube. I think it was a BBC documentary. It's definitely from England, and it's definitely from, ITV or BBC or something, on the British blues movement, and it's really fun. It's really well done. So I would check that one out. They interviews all these guys looking for the records and who got this record, and then they would share them and all that kind of stuff. Sounds cool. Bill Jones, sounds awesome. Thanks. Have you ever, the 70s version of Ramblin' On My Mind, have you ever met a woman live? Yeah, off of EC was here, for sure. Yeah. I like that version a lot, too. He plays very differently on that. He's a different kind of player at that point. I like the way he plays on that record, too. He's playing a Strat on that, but I love this stuff. That's Zita. How you doing, Zita? Good to see you again. I haven't seen you in a little bit. or I haven't mentioned your name in a little bit. I love that record. EC was here. If you don't have it, it's not one of the bigger known records, not one of the hit records. It's a live blues record. Really good stuff on it. This is Jason Carter. Are you using the pentatonic scale with the added blue notes for this? I didn't mention it, but yeah, everything here. There actually is an added natural 7. Interesting you bring that up. Thank you. Well, this note, it's terrible on the E, terrible on the A, but it's in the B7, but that's a great line. Yeah. Sorry guys, I haven't really played much lately. I had a little bit of tendonitis in my finger. I was practicing a lot and working on some core stuff. And I overdid it, which at this point, it's just dumb. I talked to my other guitar player friends, and they're the same way. You're like, yeah, you get into it, and then suddenly you're like, oh, the war injury comes back, which is my index finger right here. So I'm haven't really been playing anything in the past few days other than super simple stuff. So there's my excuse, but I can feel it. All right, so. That kind of great, adding in that natural 7. So if you learn that lick, it starts to kind of become part of your playing. Right? It reminds me of, what am I hearing? Cradle Rock Live from the Irish tour from Rory Gallagher, right? He does that kind of intro, like that kind of thing right at the very intro, and that great lick on Cradle Rock. So that's also very similar, E minor pentatonic in the open position using the blue note and a natural added 7. Okay. Any future gigs in Chicago? No. Unfortunately, touring in the States is very. I do have a tour coming up in the Czech Republic in March, and some other spots in Europe. I'm hoping to expand out into there, working on other dates. But 2 weeks in the Czech Republic, how these things come about. Is the keyboard player I play with does a lot of touring in Europe. He's actually from Austria, and he's like, "Hey, you want to come over for 2 weeks under your name?" And I'm like, "Sure." So that'll be in March. The dates are being booked, going pretty well. All right, what year is this Les Paul? This is an historic makeover. It's a 2020, I believe. Yeah, 2019. I don't know. They changed. So it's an historic makeover, and what they do is they basically make the whole thing over again, and it's got throwback pickups in. And so what they do is they put a Brazilian board on it. They strip all the color and they use the original dyes, and it's actually nitro. So it's got cracks in it already, and they slightly aged it. And then I've had the great pleasure to work with someone who owns a number of bursts and to help him choose bursts. I mean, who gets that gig? It's like one of those weird times in life. You're like, I'm in a room with 559 bursts, and my job is to play and pick out my favorites. It's like one of those things you're like, is this happening? Is this real? So the cool thing is I got a chance to play a lot of them, more than 5. And so historic makeovers actually, gets the proper neck carve, and they get the right feel, because I have a reissue, I had one for a while, and though being a great guitar, it didn't feel as authentic as some of the earlier ones that I had a chance to play. And they really do this. Now the new custom shop stuff feels a lot more legitimate. Like the new stuff that they put out. I'm not saying custom shop Les Pauls aren't great guitars, because they are. But the latest series of the 59 reissue feels a lot like this, the neck-wise. One thing that I noticed was a lot of the reissues from years ago, and I have one, the necks were really, really huge. And then when you get to play a lot of the older Les Pauls from 57, 58, 59, and 60, which is the thinnest neck, they're not baseball bats like that. So this is pretty comfortable. I would say it's a medium-sized neck. And these are throwback pickups with VIP pots. Vintage-inspired pickups makes these great pots. And I have 50s wiring going on, which is a big part of the sound. And also like this right here, as you guys probably know because you've seen all these videos, I do have the reverse wired neck pickup for the Peter Green thing. Right? And sounds like B.B. King as well. All right, so they are expensive to have it redone. People have asked me if it's worth it. I don't know. I just had been around a lot of old Les Pauls, and I just wanted, and the guy who had the old ones actually had a few of these, and they were very close. So that was before they started doing the new versions. But this is as close as I've gotten to playing the real deal, which I could never afford. And if I had one, I would sell it, right? Running around a $400,000 guitar. Any thoughts on Rory Gallagher? Everybody always asks me. I love Rory Gallagher. He's a great guitar player. I just loved his vibe most of all, like especially at the live stuff. He just kind of full balls out. That Irish tour record, love that record. And yeah, he's great. He's a great guitar player. Another guy who went way too early. All right, so come on, moving down here. Oh wait, Love and Bane was 69? Oh, yeah, all right. I didn't realize that. Okay, but yes, I think other people were doing some Robert Johnson. It was popular because that's when all that British blues stuff came about. Okay, you guys are in lockdown in Sydney. Hope you guys are doing well. I got a bunch of friends and students down in Sydney. Hope you guys are doing okay down there. Okay, Zeta, so, all right, great. Well, it was good to see you back here again. I knew you were gone for a little bit. And you own a red KTR. Excellent. I'm glad you got one. Is it an ebony fretboard? It is a Brazilian rosewood fretboard. And it's super light, 8 pounds, 3 ounces. All right. Okay. All right. So, any more questions on this? So I think about other things when you're working through this. I would highly recommend you listen to a lot of the guys that Clapton listened to. So for this kind of thing, Lightnin' Hopkins for sure, right? And you can get a lot of, not that I'm going to today, but there's all these, like the blues by yourself, like. That's kind of like the John Lee Hooker stuff. Those kind of boogie things. Of course, it sounds like LaGrange, but it's Shake Your Hips, Slim Harpo. But try to listen to the original stuff. Jimmy Reed was the guy who I really kind of learned a lot of cool stuff from. The main tune would be Baby What You Want Me to Do. You know, it's just like. You know, the one guitar is doing it, the other guy is going like. So we're starting to put all these things together and cataloging it. So I'm big on the idea that all of this is a vocabulary. We are learning the vocabulary of music and the vocabulary of blues. So just like I'm learning how to say something, if I'm learning another language, Italian or something, I have to keep on repeating the phrase and you learn phrases to make sure you learn how to speak properly and learn the language. So that's what we're doing by learning a lot of these kind of riffs. It's just the language of playing blues guitar. And you find that by learning Ramblin' On My Mind, it's a million other tunes, really, right? Doesn't really matter. Speed it up, slow it down, take your own approach to it. And it's another tune, and it's something that he stole from somebody else. He didn't come up with it. He just did his own take on it. Okay, this is Bush Rocks. When you sit down to listen to music, what do you put on? Well, what have I been listening to? It's a great question. I was having a conversation with my friend earlier. Like, I sometimes would like to find some new stuff that I really like, but sometimes it's tough when you're a musician because you're like, I've heard that a million times, or that's derivative of this or that. Boy, I listen to music all the time. I do listen to a lot of classical music, actually. The stuff I've been more into, I've always been into, is I really like Renaissance music, early music. I just really dig that a lot. So listen to some of that, and let me see what I've just downloaded on my phone recently. I can answer that probably a little more legitimately. So, George Benson. I've been listening to a lot of early George Benson lately. I got Thin Lizzy is on here. King Crimson. I was listening to Red the other day because I love that tune Starless, and also Red, which is super cool. What else is on here? Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. And then when I'm riding the bike, I had my metal workout playlist, which had Rammstein, Rob Zombie's on there, bunch, Slayer. Gojira, is that how you pronounce the name? It's like, got Gojira from France. So just some of the heavy stuff while I'm on the bike. But do I listen to Robin Ford? Some Robin Ford, sure, but I've heard all of it. I've listened to his new record. I do have his new record. That's not true. He sent me his new record, which I highly recommend when it comes out. He plays great on it. And The Cult. I was listening to The Cult. I was listening to Love. That's one of my favorite classic records. Classic 80s stuff. Tom Waits. I love Tom Waits. But lately, for my own free time, I've been listening to more jazz again lately. George Benson, some Wes Montgomery, just trying to get some of that stuff. I'm just kind of working on new things for my playing. Oh, I've been listening to some Larry Carlton because I'm doing a course with Brett. I'm doing a fusion course. I think I talked about that with you guys. And I have 3 TrueFire courses I'm going to shoot in August. So to answer a lot of what people have been asking me, which has been asked me, is I'm going to do a beginning blues course, beginning blues rhythm guitar and beginning soloing. So it's going to be like a survival guide, but beginning blues. Not beginner, like here's your A string, but more basic stuff that I find that a lot of people are a little deficient on. And just being able to play a blues confidently, sitting down to jam with people. And I find that since as I go back and work with a lot more people, there's a gap in my catalog at TrueFire there's a little bit more medium, like intermediate to advanced. And I want to throw in some earlier stuff because it's just as important, actually more important, because people end up thinking they have to learn this more difficult stuff, and it's much more difficult if you haven't done the more remedial stuff. ZZ Top. Yeah, I listen to ZZ Top all the time. By that, like all the time, especially the early stuff. I just can't get enough of that stuff. All right. The Me and Mr. Johnson record's really great. I love that. And there's the videos are cool. There's a great version, an electric version of Hellhound on My Trail that he does, and it's got Doyle Bramhall in the band. That's really great. Let me see what else. Any other questions? Oh, it's pretty good. I think other good stuff. I listen to a lot of podcasts. Kind of a little obsessed. Oh, podcast is great. I love it. And it's the Robert Plant Digging Deep with Robert Plant podcast. I love Robert Plant. He's a guy. I did meet him once on the street in New York, and it was kind of funny because I had my guitar in my back many years ago, and some guy was chewing his ear off, and Plant was standing and wearing shorts, a Hawaiian shirt, and he had bifocals on a chain. So that was kind of funny to begin with. I'm like, the Golden God is wearing Hawaiian shirt, and I didn't care. So I see him standing there, and I I had to say hi. I just wanted to say hello and thanks. And some guy was chewing his ear off. Like, yeah, I know you like this. And he was super polite and super nice. He was outside a record store. And he kind of looked at me, and I had my guitar on my back. And I just said, I just wanted to say thanks. I'm a musician, and you're one of the reasons why I'm a musician. And I just wanted to say thank you. And he's like, oh, you're welcome. I'm like, and he kind of stood there, and I said to him, oh, that's it. I won't bother you. And he went, oh, really? Oh, thanks. Like you're not going to chew my ear off for the next hour. Super nice guy. But I love his video because I love his podcast. Now, granted, he's Robert Plant and he's made millions and millions of dollars, so he can do whatever he wants. But I love how passionate he is about music and creating new things and not living in the past. And he's very self-effacing with his sense of humor about, like Zeppelin lyrics from the day, or like, I can't sing like that anymore, so why would I do that? And plus, I already did that. Like, I don't need to go back and do these things because I want to move forward and be creative. But he's got a great sense of humor, and it's nice to hear about it. And also, it made me discover some of his solo stuff that I had not really given as much weight to. I don't love all of it, but I like that he tries new stuff. And I went back to like Big Log and Ship of Fools, and those are some great songs from those early '80s stuff. After Zeppelin, after Bonham died, he put out those records. Go back and listen to some of those things. The production, as he even said, he goes, I wish I could. The production, it was of its time with like the DX7s and some of the keyboard sounds, but some really great stuff on Now and Zen, and the what's the one, News at 11 or something here where they run with Big Log on it. And then some of the later stuff's really great. So Digging Deep with Robert Plant, I highly recommend that podcast. And there's the other ones, all the history ones I love. There's one called History Hit, and then there's The Ancients, and In Our Day, which is from the BBC. So I'm a bit of a history kind of guy with that. They're great. All right. So any questions? All right, so I appreciate everyone being here. I could just sit here and talk at you. Wow, there's a lot of people on. Sure, any questions? I'm happy to talk. It's hot as crap outside, and I got no place to go. I do want to mention one thing. While we're playing this, there's a guitar tune. I just rolled back my volume. So I can do the lead thing, and just roll back the volume for a little more of the rhythm tone. So experiment with your volume with your overdrive. All right, guys. Thanks so much for being here. It was a good one. I appreciate you being here. All my courses over at TrueFire, and anybody who hit the tip jar, really appreciate that. And I say it all the time. I appreciate everyone who's here. I love the community. We feel like we kind of got going on here throughout the pandemic and when this all kind of started. Apparently, this is broadcast number 80. Live broadcast number 80. Super cool. So thanks for everybody who's been following, and it's been growing. And if you want to share with your friends and hit the like button and subscribe and all that stuff, I appreciate it. Oh, a few questions here. Do I play much acoustic guitar? I don't really. I don't play too much, but I will. Hold on, I'm going to walk off camera. I don't play too much acoustic because I don't have a really good one. Hold on one sec. Except for this, my really out-of-tune National at the moment, because I haven't played it in a while. But it's an old National, needs work. With the problem with guitars like this, which I love, but there's no truss rod, or there is a truss rod, but the neck doesn't, you can't adjust it, so I have to bring it in again and get it tweaked. But it's an old National, an old Duoli, and I play this a fair amount. Not as much anymore because the action is now like 8 feet off the frets again. But one of the reasons why I don't play a lot of acoustic, to be honest, is a few real honest ones. One, a really nice acoustic in New York is a nightmare for me, because in the winter it gets so dry with this forced heat. You have to be really on top of the guitar. I have a Martin that I use when I need it, and it's a kind of a lower end one. It's got a huge crack right here and another one right here. I just can't keep the thing humidified, and so for me to get something beautiful like a Collings or a really great Martin, it's gonna crack. I just know I'm gonna mess that thing up, and that's one of the reasons why I don't have one, because I don't want it to get destroyed, which would be something that could very easily happen because of the keeping it humidified in New York is a real challenge. So that's one of the reasons why I don't play a lot of acoustic. Also, I play electric. Like, you know, there's guys who really, there's so many nuances about playing the electric guitar that I just stick to that. You know, there's guys who are acoustic guitar players, there's guys who play both, but my favorite acoustic guitar players are the guys who are acoustic guitar players, and then the guys who play electric are my favorite electric guitar players. Here's an off-the-wall question. What gray color is it that you have in the studio? Oh, the color of the paint? Hey, Jim, you know, I have your email. I will send you, because we have the paint, of course. And it looks more gray than it's actually like a blue. It's got a real blue to it as well, so it's a bluish gray. But I'll send it to you. I'll send you what the actual paint is, so you can actually do that. So no problem. Home Depot. No, Lowe's, not Home Depot. All right. Circulating hot water heat is a lot better than forced air boilers, not furnace. Well, I do have that old New York house where it's steam, it's hot water heat, but it still just gets dry as all get out. You know, I've got the old radiators. Now, an interesting fact for people who live in New York or have been in New York is, you know, like in the summer and the winter when it's so blisteringly hot in apartments, right, with the heat. You get those big, huge heaters, and then you always have to have your window open, and you wake up in the morning like, you know, apparently, and this is an article in a legitimate newspaper recently, was because of the pandemic of 1918, they tried to keep the windows open as much as possible, so they ended up putting in overpowered heating systems so you could keep your windows open to keep circulation going because of the flu of 1918, which is pretty fascinating. Okay. Some more questions. Do I play slide? I do, sorta. I play it just enough to be able to play it on certain things. I started getting really into playing slide at one point with open tunings, and I have a lap steel. And then I realized that it's a ton of work for me to, it was taking me away from playing the regular guitar, which is my favorite thing. So I can do some stuff, and I play a lot of Delta stuff on this. I really love it. Like the Robert Johnson stuff, it's open G or open D tuning. So I do enjoy playing it, but it's just kind of a hobby, or if I have like a session or a gig where I want to play slide on something. But, you know, compared to, you know, when your friend is Sonny Landreth, you know, or Joey Landreth, or Ariel Posen, you're like, yeah, I don't play slide. Or Derek Trucks, of course. I'm not friends with him though. Okay. Can you mention some of your favorite acoustic guitar players? I haven't spoken to him in years, but Martin Simpson. We used to do a lot of workshops together, National Guitar Workshop. He was there. What a great guitar player. What a great player. What a great guy. So Martin Simpson is amazing. Of course, Tommy Emmanuel. Most of the acoustic stuff I would listen to is a bit more, I guess, the acoustic blues guys. And for me, that's always going to be the older stuff. I really love the Delta stuff, Charlie Patton, Sunhouse, Bucka White, and all that. Okay. Oh, keep more questions. Why not? Jim, so yeah, I like it too. So it's just so neutral. Yeah, it's nice. And it looks, we're talking about the paint here. If you could see the lighting is always weird, but it really accented the room. I'm glad you liked it. You love my Clapton videos. Thank you. It's from the Panda. Clapton's the reason why I play guitar. He is one of the reasons why I play guitar. David Gilmour is the reason why I play guitar, actually. David Gilmour and Brian May. Those are my two first heroes. And then Clapton was a lot later, which is interesting. He wasn't one of the reasons why I play guitar, but he's one of the reasons why I play the guitar the way I do now. All right. Who makes your favorite pickups? Well, there's a few companies. I really love Throwback. I've got them on a lot of my guitars. And recently, vintage-inspired pickups, who make the pots I use in all my guitars, or most of my guitars, sent me a set of humbuckers to check out. So I'm looking forward to putting that in something, but I'm trying to figure out what to put it in because they're all pretty great. All right, I think Phil's got some stuff to do. It's like, what's going on? All right, guys. Thanks so much for being here. I will see you next week. Thanks for everybody hit the tip jar, the Venmo, and all that. I really appreciate it. Once again, all my courses are always on sale through my website. And that's a great way if you'd like to support what I do. If you don't already have my courses anyway, please check those out. And I will see you guys next week. All right, thanks everyone. Stay cool.